you were there. Okay,
That
good.
was quick.
All right.
All right, let me open the meeting here. I need a time.
6:32.
6:36.
6:32.
6:32. Okay, we're gonna open at 6:32. This is the June 10th, the meeting at 6:32 in meeting room 4. We're posted in accordance with the provisions of the MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20B. The proceeding will be videotaped by Area 58 and rebroadcast by them as well. Thank you very much, Area 58. Discussion tonight, I had asked Tom Bott if he would just come to our meeting and openly tell us, number one, the final decision for the Green Business Park from the planning board, and here he is. And the second thing I asked Tom, if he could give, and these would be narratives, but the second bullet was more detailed, in particular, the Committee on Ideas to Influence the Progress of Water for the North Carver Water District. Now, all of this evolved from our last meeting, which I appreciate the fact that you came as well as Tom and so forth. And number one, there was a final decision, as you well know. Route 44 has gone to court over the final decision of the planning board. Tom, could you give us kind of a narrative of what's going on, the final decision for the Green Business Park from the planning board's perspective?
Certainly. So the planning board approved the subdivision plan as they are required to under Massachusetts general law, not discretionary. The planning board shall approve a subdivision plan. So the board approved a subdivision plan with conditions, and the applicant objected to the conditions regarding some of the earthwork. Because when you build a subdivision, you're building a road and infrastructure,
Right.
and you're not grading individual lots.
Okay.
And that was the distinction with this. Their grading plan went from the 20, and I'm using round numbers here, the 20-some acres of roadway work they had to do to 140 acres using these other two lots. And those numbers aren't accurate, but the fact that a subdivision plan typically would not have grading for a subdivision in it. So because a board is obliged to approve a subdivision plan, it was incumbent on me to make sure that everyone knew the board was not approving the grading of these lots. The grading of those lots come with a site plan approval. And that was the rub, and that's what they objected to. And they mentioned during the hearing, the attorney was reserving their rights. I think I mentioned that George made a very earnest charm offensive at the end as well, but the board, following the advice of counsel, took the vote that they took. The applicant took the decision he took to appeal, and so now we're off to land court.
Okay.
How long does that take?
I don't know. It's a question for lawyers, and of course, all those things based upon who's motioning, who's moving, who's needs more time. So I don't know. That's a question for
So
attorneys.
I did read quite a bit of this 143-page thing, and it's on fast track, number one, and it did say 7/2/2025. So I don't understand all of the goings on or what's going there, but I read that. I have to make an assumption, and maybe I'm wrong, that maybe that's the begin of the trial. I don't know. We'll find out more, I suppose.
Okay.
You know. Well, that kind of puts a kind of a hold on what. Let me get a piece. I just wanted to make sure I say this right here. The final decision, Tom, I think it's 6 pages long, and I read it all. With the last page was the vote, and the first vote, it said it by Cornelia Shea to approve the definitive subdivision plan with the above conditions and waivers, seconded by Kevin Robinson. And so I watched all that and I saw all that, and they all voted. And then the next one is the motion by Cornelia Shea to deny without prejudice. And I had to print that out because I always get it wrong. And without prejudice means A
You can
case
come back.
dismissed without prejudice means the opposite. It's not dismissed forever. The person whose case it is can come again. So that's great. Okay, so without prejudice, as unnecessary, the requested special permits, with an S, pursuant to section 290-3-8.2, seconded by Ellen Sordillo. However, Mr. Robinson voted no. Obviously has a different idea.
Well, actually, he said later on, like, oh, I don't think that's how I meant to vote. But, well, that's moot because it wouldn't have changed the outcome.
Okay.
But those special permits were denied because those special permits were for the grading associated with those 2 lots.
Okay,
So if they were to grade those 2 lots, they would
Okay.
need that special permit for how they were going to leave the edges of the lots.
okay,
So those 2 special permits were denied because they're just not due, because that's not what's in front of the board.
okay.
So they can come back with those special permits when they come back with a site plan to improve the sites.
Unless the court changes it all.
Well, you never know.
You never know,
As
right.
we see over and over again.
Right,
It's not unusual for a court to remand something back to the board and say, we, the court, aren't going to make a decision on this, but we'll send it back to the town to review some of these facts. But what comes out of that, who knows, because that's in the hands of
Right.
judges and things like that.
couple of things I want to just point out when I was doing all this. Part, and I printed a page so I would make sure I would set it right. As I was reading it, I just wanted to put out a few things, and maybe you can help answer that. And then I'll turn it over to the members here to have a chance at it. Route 44 LLC, and this, I was reading the court briefs. Route 44 LLC, in my mind, has spent, not my mind, that's as I read it, they spent $115 million over the last 10 plus years. Route 44 also in the LDA, which we signed, is the land development agreement we signed, the RDA signed.
Jory,
It
could
was
you just check
made
that-
known.
Could you just check that money figure? That
How
can't
much?
be right, 105, that can't be.
150, no, did I say it wrong? 15 million?
Okay.
That was in the court brief. I
You just said
didn't,
it wrong. That's-
I'm sorry.
that's
But
Even 15.
thank you for paying attention.
I was gonna act for her.
I saw
too.
it.
He's writing it down. All right, so anyway, the land development agreement was signed with the RDA, and it was made known then that the RDA would be purchasing additional land. I believe they purchased 14 parcels, frontage to Montello. One of those parcels is the hill Route 44 wants to take down. That was owned by Borofsky, and it was already a land gravel operation then. In fact, the whole entire area at one time was some land and gravel, but particularly his operation was just that. One of those parcels, as I said, that particular parcel that he wants to take down encompasses, after he spreads out the cut and fill, the remain is 480,000 cubic yards of material he has to export. So I guess my question is, when the original urban renewal plan was defined, it was conceptual, right? And it was millions of material that would either have to come in, I believe, not go out, come in to kind of, whatever the grading was going to be.
Everything anticipated bringing soil to the site.
What this is, and I saw the planning board video. George got up and he explained to the planning board about buying these extra houses and how he moved them, and he didn't take anything by eminent domain, and one of them, Mr. Tusher, has cancer, probably still has. I'm not faulting him, but I don't think he did a good job to explain to them. And the rationale is, I would ask, has anybody of all those board members, have they done a site view to really understand what that's all about. And I would ask the board to go over to that property and have a site view visit to understand what's going on and what has happened. The water's been put in, the hydrants have been put in, all those front properties are gone, with the exception of that, up that little hill where Mr. Borofsky is, there's still a house there, and behind Mr. Borofsky, way up there, is a house. The Allens own that house, and that has to come down as well. That's the lot. So all of that is part of that subdivision. Just let me finish, and I think I'm done, really, to be honest with you. I just want to say one more thing, and I copied this here, and I want to say it. In the statement of facts, number 12, by its decision dated May 13, 2025, and filed with the town clerk for the town of Carver on May 14, 2025, there's an Exhibit A. The planning board improperly conditioned and denied permits necessary for Route 44 to proceed with the subdivision completed under the URP. The planning board's decision imposes onerous condition, denies a special permit, and incorrectly defines the property's principal use in a legally untenable and arbitrary and capricious manner. Route 44 requests that this is the important part. Route 44 requests that the planning board's improper actions be annulled so that Route 44 may proceed with construction of the subdivision of the property in accordance with applicable Massachusetts law, applicable Town of Carver regulations, and the URP. He wants to continue. He's not walking away. People bump into me. That guy's gonna walk away. He's gonna turn everything around and blah, 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 blah. We don't have a paper today, Mr. Glenn Cannon. If we had a paper, we could be telling everybody out there, and not Facebook. It's terrible. It's disgusting. And I'm gonna be asking you to put a paper together. That's coming up shortly, and I've got about 8 people that want to help me do it too. So be prepared.
Okay.
Mr. Bott, I would ask if that planning board would take a site visit and go up there and truly understand what that is all about.
So the planning board did a site visit.
When? This is a new board.
May I?
I'm
You
sorry.
asked me a question.
I'm sorry.
All right. So the planning board has done a site visit. To George's magnanimousness with all the nice things that he has done. I explain to people on a regular basis. If Mother Teresa comes in with a permit and her stuff doesn't meet the regulations, we say, sorry, Mother Teresa, you're going to have to fix this. If Saddam Hussein comes in and all of his stuff is perfectly in line, congratulations, Saddam, here's your permit. It's not about who, it's about what. And the URP talks about developing the site within the town's regulations. So that's where we're at. The URP says develop the town within the town's regulations. Here are the town's regulations. It's in court right now, and I'm not going to discuss anything like that because you don't talk about things when they're in court. But that's their writing, and they, that's what they hire those people to do, is write these things down and make their case. So however that decides is the decision of the court. But keep in mind, this is an amendment to a subdivision plan. The developer has been able to build a subdivision since the first subdivision approval. And he didn't. And he didn't build one after the amended subdivision. So ball's in his court. As we talked about the last time, there's a lot of things George could do. He's got to get permits through the state, these other sort of things. If he wants to make progress, he can make progress. He's had an improved subdivision plan for, 6, 7 months, 9 months, something like that. So that's where we're at. The planning board made their decision based on town council's advice, and he's appealing it, and we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, I rest, and you guys have a shot at it.
No, for right now, I'm good. I think the guy's just trying to offset his costs about getting involved in it, and it's what it is.
Slavery?
Obviously, there seems to be a disconnect in how the zoning bylaws are interpreted. There's talk of a typo. There's talk about primary use versus other things in the zoning bylaw. That's going to be settled in the courts. Has there been any talk, or any initial thought about revising the zoning bylaws to get rid of these gray areas and these areas of seemingly combative words?
There's not. And I can tell you, have been gone through multiple zoning bylaw recodifications and revisions in 2 different towns. There is always going to be those sections of the bylaw where it's like, what does that mean to you and what does that mean to me? So there is always going to be those things in a 250-page some odd document. But there's been no discussion about that from anybody other than from Joanna when she sent me an email.
If earth removal was allowable in the Green Business Park, would that change how the planning board, would that change how the planning board's information and how they would vote?
Well, they weren't applying for earth removal, they were applying for a subdivision. So they were building a road. And to the extent that they're building a road, that's the dirt they get to move. Until they come back with something else, as I said before, a site plan for those individual lots, then we're talking about earth removal as ancillary to another project.
But isn't there something in the bylaws that states that any kind of site preparation, for the long-term use of that property is allowable, even with the subdivision plan?
Not that I'm familiar with. But what their application was for subdivision, not for site plan, not for individual lots. And I told the applicant, I'm like, if you want to come back in with one of your potential candidates to do something like that, if you want to do a spec site plan, then knock yourself out. But what you're asking for right now is an amendment to a subdivision, and that requires building a roadway and the drainage and the utilities that are associated with it. It does not entitle grading individual lots.
Then, if that's the case, then why was the chart that showed earth removal was not allowable in the Green Business Park so much of the discussion?
I think people wanted to know what was going on. You people talk about things all the time, and you're allowed to ask questions that you're not necessarily regulating about. I can't describe the motivations, the insights of individual planning board members.
Okay.
Roger?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So is the issue,
You want-
I'm sorry, so Mr. Bott, is the issue that they want to remove, is the planning board having a problem with the fact that they want to remove soil from the site and are curious about where that material will go, like outside of town? Or are they more concerned that it's not going to be on that property anymore? Do they want the builder to relocate that dirt to another part on the same property? Or at least keep it in the town? I mean, are they worried about him reselling it and making profit on it?
No, there wasn't any discussion about that, but I believe in the decision it said any work done, construction work done on the subdivision, you'll come out of the site and make a right, you'll go up to Route 44 and you'll get on Route 44. So the only discussion about the disposition of material was that you have to take a right out of the site, not drive through Plimpton, not drive through Carver property, come out of the site and get on Route 44. That was the only discussion about the disposition of soils to be excavated.
Roger, do you have more questions?
I'm thinking. Somebody else can talk while I think about it.
Dave?
I have that one, no.
I think this has been asked, and I believe I remember the answer, but I just want to refresh it in my mind. If they were to move the earth to a different part on their property, they don't need planning board approval to do that?
Likely if you're, because we got a note from the EPA last year that said your stormwater regulations are not in compliance and you need to fix them before we sue you. So we fixed them before they sued us. And amongst those was about the amount of area you get to disturb prior to needing a land disturbance permit through the stormwater regulations. So in the stormwater regulations, there is a land disturbance permit that's administered by the planning board. So in a roundabout answer, yeah, they'd have to come to the planning board if they were gonna just move dirt around the site, because they're exposing the site. Now keep in mind, the person who interprets the zoning bylaw is the building commissioner. That's what it says in the bylaw. And the building commissioner and I talk on a regular basis about these things to make sure we're on the same page. And if we got questions about things, we'll ask the town administrator if we can check with town council on those sort of things. But for the most part, the zoning bylaw is interpreted by the building commissioner, and that's what it says in the bylaw.
Wouldn't that affect the site plan review, though? Isn't it still moving that earth? Wouldn't the DEP regulations or for stormwater be affected whether it's done now or later?
Well, they don't have a site plan for removing dirt, so we'll find out about it. But to the DEP, in the conversation that I had with them last week that I'm happy to talk about for a bit, there is no agency that regulates earth removal at the state level. There is one that regulates bringing soil onto the site to make sure that they're not bringing some kind of contamination.
Okay.
But there's no DEP, there's no state review for removing soil from the site.
Oh, that's
All right.
interesting.
Is it possible, though, that by removing that hill, that it changes the hydronics so that the water retention ponds that are being built in the subdivision plan are no longer viable?
No, because that's what engineers do.
Yeah.
Engineers engineer them so they work like they're supposed to. And as I told George, I'm like, if you've got a hill to take down and you've got to excavate through that hill, you've got to have a sustainable slope. So how much material you're actually going to remove when you have to put a road at this height and the hill is at this height to chase those grades out there? That's a big swath of dirt that's part of the subdivision proposal. But that's, those operations are their operations, and they conduct them as they see fit within the realm of the regulations.
Okay.
Roger, are you all set?
Yeah, I'm here. It's being answered.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, we got a few more, I don't know if the clock's right or wrong, but number 2, I had a discussion with Tom Bott, town planner, and the committee on ideas to influence the progress of water for the North Carver Water District. There was A, B, C, and D. Grants for water remediation. Potential development of 27-acre parcel behind Noria's gas station. C, expand commercial growth. And D, ideas to 80,000, but I believe you had a 90,000 economic. That was a 90, not 80.
Well, 10,000 is our money, 80,000 is theirs.
Oh, okay.
The grant.
Ideas to use the economic development grant. So if you can just kind of enlighten us on, starting with A, kind of openly.
Well, I'll defer to the town administrator since he's been working on the water issues in North Carver Water. In fact, I believe testified in front of the state legislature today via Zoom.
Can I just, before we start, we don't have, and I want this clarified. Tom Bott can write grants. Very successful. And I believe you can too?
Yes, yes.
We don't have a quote-unquote official grant writer in our town.
Correct.
Are we going to get one?
I will tell you, I debated it last year. I did put it on hold. One thing that does make me nervous is if we don't have an MBTA zoning bylaw, we may not be eligible for state grants. So honestly, I don't know if bringing in a grant writer is the best thing to do right now if we're not going to be eligible for state grants.
It's my understanding that DEP, I believe, watching the videos, has made a lot of suggestions of good grants for water remediation. Now, we need the money. We'll all agree. Grants are great. But you're right, maybe that's an issue coming up, the MBTA. But if we had a grant writer, they could successfully help any one of the groups in our town, over and above the town planner. So I know you're hesitant. Who's going to help North Carver Water District write grants?
Well, if we need grants, right, again, whether or not those grants would actually be issued to us is a different story. So you can write grants all day long, you can submit them to the state. If they're not going to approve any grants for the town of Carver, I'm not sure that's a good use of taxpayer dollars
Are you saying because of the MBTA?
because of the MBTA. If you look at the town of Middleborough, I mean, once they were deemed non-compliant, I believe the state took an existing grant they had already been awarded away from the town of Middleborough, and it was for the school department.
I remember that.
So, I mean, they really reached deep to go after them. So it does, I'm hesitant to do it. But I can tell you now, if, if the North Carver Water District legislation gets passed, and we anticipate it will, we will move forward with an engineering study. Now, we may seek a grant, again, we might be in a different situation, and we may do it with town funds, but with that engineering study, will move forward.
Okay. I guess you kind of answered my A. Does anybody have anything else on A? B, the potential development of 27-acre parcel behind Noria gas station. You're the town planner, I'm sure you've talking to him. Mr. Constantine, he stood up at town meeting and wanted to make sure that he was heard and that he could also have water. He would much like it to be from the North Carver Water District because it restricts, if he digs a well or wells, he's got 150 radius that limits him and kind of squeezes down what he wants to build. So it's important to go in a direction here.
Correct, and I would say, I believe the board encouraged the North Carver Water District to appoint me as the water supervisor so we could move forward with, either securing a water source from the town of Middleborough or to get that, the plant back online.
But the water source from Middleborough is very well known. In June of this past, last year, when Middleborough came to the police station and met with a few of the select board members, they were very open and said they would not support commercial growth in his town, and they would only support providing water to those people who had contaminated wells.
Well, we'd like to re-engage with them, let me put it that way.
Let me go further, simply because they only permitted for 100,000 gallons. They have to go out and spend millions of dollars to try to get 200,000 gallons. So is that what you know that is happening with Middleborough for them? Because they don't only sell water to Carver, they sell water
Right.
to other people.
Correct, and I do know they're trying to expand their permit with DEP. And again, we would like to re-engage with them, and I'm kind of like the rent, right? I don't really see the purpose of re-engaging with them right now when we don't control the North Carver Water District. So again, we're waiting for that legislation to pass. We'd like to re-engage with Middleborough. And really what I'd like to have is right now, we have an agreement, well, the North Carver Water District has an agreement with Middleborough to provide water to their existing customers. What I'd prefer to see is an agreement between the town of Carver and the town of Middleborough where they say they'll provide us 100,000 gallons a day. Because we don't need that much water right now. If they'll give us an allotment, then we'd have additional capacity to provide for the Route 44 developer or for this other gentleman here.
Noria,
the 20
whatever
yeah,
their name is, yeah.
The 27 acres.
Yeah.
Because I understand the point. If he has to put in a well, it cuts down his development area.
Absolutely.
So again, I haven't had any discussions with the town of Middleborough about this at all, but, that's what I'd like to see, where I believe Middleborough has agreements with the town of Rochester, and in those agreements, there's a certain gallon amount in those agreements,
Right.
a maximum. And that's what I'd like to see, as opposed to just, they did it in an emergency situation. We needed water, right?
Yeah, for a purpose, but not commercial.
Correct. Well, so again, we'd like to re-engage with them. And I believe what would have to happen, even on their end, is they want to see DEP increase their permit before they agree to give us a set amount.
Oh, yeah, and
It
of course,
makes
that's
sense.
gonna cost them.
Exactly.
Plus, they also said that they were upgrading, they were fixing some of the wells. One of the
Yeah, they
wells was
are-
shut down, it had PFAS in it, and they had to shut it down, and
Yeah, I don't know the details.
they're putting in some new kind of thing
Yeah, new
so they can
treatment system.
flush out that PFAS and so forth and so on. So,
Yes.
all right, anybody else on
Just
that one?
when's that legislation
So I did attend a hearing today to encourage the Senate. It's in a committee, municipal committee. I can't remember the full name of the committee. But it needs to come out of that committee to go to the Senate for a vote, and it goes over to the House for a vote. We've been told it could take up to 9 months. So
Okay.
I am following it along, and again, every chance I get to testify, I'm gonna testify in front of these committees and just urge them to move it forward.
More?
Are we moving ahead with the engineering study regardless, or we have to wait till 9 months?
We have to wait the 9 months.
Wow.
I know, again, I've
Yeah.
requested to be made a supervisor 4 or 5 times.
I know.
I can't tell you how many times I've asked.
I know.
And I'll continue to ask. If you'll put me on the agenda, I'll continue to ask. I'll tell you right now, it's the best thing for the town of Carver.
Okay.
Dave, do you have something?
I don't.
He won't put you on the agenda? Is that what you're saying?
He did the last meeting, and unfortunately, I couldn't attend. I had a prior commitment. But he has before, and they haven't taken a vote to make me this water supervisor. Again, I've asked him again to put me on the next agenda. Again, I couldn't attend the last meeting. I know there's a new member now, so it's only a 3-member board. Maybe there'd be a new vote.
I don't know.
When does the water commission meet?
On a Wednesday.
They usually do Wednesdays, yeah. I don't think they have regularly scheduled meetings.
It's like the second, I think, isn't it, what they don't meet when you meet, conservation?
No,
Okay.
conservation
Usually the
meets at
third
night.
Wednesday, but they meet.
Oh, you're the secretary, you would
They
know.
usually meet several times during the month for things that come
But
up.
on a Wednesday?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Is
Wednesday.
there any way we
During
could know
business
about
hours.
that?
It's on the, it's
Well, they
posted
post the
online.
agenda.
It's on
Oh,
the meeting calendar.
so you want me to
online.
actually go look at the agenda? Oh,
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
all right, I can do that.
You can do that.
I can do that.
But, yeah.
I can tell you what the next one is.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
that'll be
Yeah, that'd
good.
be
Yeah,
helpful.
all right, North
The
Carolina.
next one is the 25th at 5 p.m.
25th, Wednesday.
At 5 PM? Okay.
A little difficult.
His meetings are always at 5.
Okay.
Done on purpose for all the people that have to work that can't get there in time?
No, but he
Yeah.
has a different schedule.
So-
There had been one scheduled at 9 a.m. previously, but no one went to.
Oh, my God. Roger,
The board didn't.
It's a conspiracy
Yeah.
we're
theory.
calling on you. Do you have something you'd like to talk about?
5 PM, okay.
No, I'm listening to what you guys are talking about. A lot of questions are being answered.
Okay, all right, let's,
But, this 9 month thing is gonna push, if we can't get it pulled sooner, that 9 months pushes out everything we wanna do with the Water Commission and everything that's gonna happen with this project
yeah,
for the
No doubt.
development.
no doubt. All right, let's move on to C, expand commercial growth.
If I may.
You have to leave.
I have to leave. I just want to talk about the URP for a moment.
Oh, thank you.
So I did meet with the folks from EOHLC, our
Oh,
friend Maggie
yes,
Schmidt.
yes.
The meeting was also attended by folks from MIPA, Jennifer Hughes, as well as her boss, Kim Torrey. And we talked about the MIPA letter and the urban redevelopment plan. And under the guise, the CMR that deals with urban redevelopment plans, they talked about minor changes and major changes. And they said, to stipulate, you are the folks who have to determine if you think it's a minor change or a major change. But a minor change is a plan element that doesn't significantly affect the basic elements of the plan: acquisitions, characteristics, objections, public improvements, developers' obligations, or dispositions. So this doesn't meet the status of a minor change or a major change, because the only thing that has changed is the people who we were anticipating might move to the site aren't. So the conceptual plan developed through Hillwood could be resurrected, it could not, but at this point, there's been no change in the URP, so there's no requirement to change the URP. In discussing with the folks from MIPA about the thresholds in the final environmental impact report, has said every application that comes in for a site plan or a special permit, because they're individual to the site, will have a traffic count with it, because a lot of those thresholds are based upon number of trips per day. So as we start to monitor and issue permits for individual uses, and those uses start to tick up, then the developer is going to have to go in and make those mitigations that are required in the FEIR, the final environmental impact report. So at this point, we have a 9-year-old FEIR, as they pointed out, no changes to the URP, so we are status quo with MIPA and with the Executive Office of Livable Communities, because there's no change to the URP other than the fact that the person we thought was going to be there isn't. That's not a change as what's going to happen on the site. That's just the last thing we had. So at some point in the future, if we have some wholesale changes, we may have to return to that. But at this point, it's status quo and no changes are required for the URP.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
well, I mean, it was pretty robust what was allowed in the MIPA report anyway. I mean, it's gonna take a lot to make that a major change, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
okay.
Well, that's it.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm
Tom,
sorry.
we thank you,
Thank you.
as
Thanks.
always.
And I apologize, I didn't get a chance to meet you because I was heading out for another gig for my other gig.
Oh, yeah.
So, David, is it?
Yes.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right,
Yeah.
enjoy.
Thank you. All right, I just have, well, no, I had one more, and I can send you an email, and you can, he has that grant, and I was kind of concerned, the D says, ideas that how it's gonna be used. Now, I know he had said in the past, that grant was coordinating with Serpent.
Yes.
Serpent. You are the town administrator, you can probably enlighten us, if you will. Has there been any talk about this, the use of what they're going to be doing with this grant, development grant?
I probably don't know. I know probably about as much about it as you do.
Really?
I just know it is a redevelopment grant, economic grant for the Route 58 corridor, and Serpent is involved. I don't have a start date, that's why I have to check with Tom.
Okay,
I could do that tomorrow, though.
okay.
Do you want to circle back to the expanding commercial growth? We kind of skipped over that when Tom wanted to talk about the URP.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, let's open it back up. Expand commercial growth. Enlighten us.
So, again, I'm with the board on this one. I'm looking to expand commercial growth wherever we can, particularly in the North Carver area, by Route 44. I think it's a natural fit for the area, and something we do need to work for. And again, we're making the commitment to take over the North Carver Water District, and that's additional work for the town. And again, I would say we owe it to the residents, but again, we also owe it to spur commercial growth up there, and they need water to do that. So I think that's a critical component for the town.
I mean, honestly, I think we're making the same mistake a lot of towns do, is we're dragging our feet getting this whole thing done. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that we're pushing this guy off and pushing this guy off, and I don't know how much he's dug into it, don't get me wrong, but I know real estate development, and there comes a point in time where it works for where it is. It's in the same vein of what was going to go in there before. The basics are all there. We just need, as a town, to put some of this stuff together, like get the guy water and do some basic stuff that we need to take care of before he can really go that much farther anyway. And here we are, whatever, a year and a half later, since I've been here anyway,
I know, you've said
and we're
that.
still futzing around with the same 4 issues this entire time. And we haven't made any progress at all. So that's my 2 cents. What?
I'm sorry, Jim. I was going to add to, because I was going to say that's a great point. We're fussing around with little things that should be handled or should be handled a lot quicker, because we are losing a lot of money in this town when we're not able to provide and put people in those buildings and start earning that rent and or whatever the town is guaranteed.
You got jobs that come out of that, you got tax dollars that come out of that, there's a lot of things that come out of real estate development, as you pointed out, as long as it's smart development, and where it is, it makes sense, and where you're putting it, and I think that makes a lot of sense too, and that's why I'm looking at going to this water meeting too, because it can't just be in this political stalemate about, when there's, how many residents are in the town of Carver?
11,000.
Okay, so there's 11,000 people out there that for the most part will benefit from what happens here. And
But they don't know.
We're arguing over water.
yeah, but we do. And it's
Yes,
it's
that's true.
part of our job for the town is to push these things along. Well, that's what I'm saying about going to this meeting with this guy, because he comes in here and he has this political discussion every time about the same things, and it's not helping the town by getting 5 minutes, in his case, half an hour's worth of TV time to go do this. So that's my 2 cents. I mean, this is taking forever. You know, the semantics of it it is what it is, but the basics are there. There was already a plan in place for the basic thing that we're talking about, and we're still arguing, we're going to court. I mean, this is what kills things and what hurts people in the town.
That's
So,
right.
That's
And
my 2 cents.
we have to listen to all the people with these accusations, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but without a proper newspaper and telling the people the truth. Thank you, Video Area 58, but how many people watch it? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, I
Expanding
will
the
tell you-
growth. I'm sorry, Roger, go ahead.
No, my bad. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
What I do know is that when I talk to a lot of people, you talk to some of the farmers, you talk to some of the residents, and when they ask questions, and the big thing I see is, there's a big talk about that lot of land next to Tom's gas station, I guess, up North Carver, across from the car wash and across from the Cumberlands, and then other plots in town where, like that piece of land we sold last year, it gets torn apart, nice wooded area, and people complain. So when we are working about commercial properties and working about, hey, let's get more business in here, a lot of people have been saying, why aren't we, instead of ripping open new land, why aren't we reconditioning the land that we have already that's been zoned for business instead of cutting up new land? And I know there's costs associated, and I know that there's a choice area somebody's going to run a business. But we have lots of land that are really being diminished in this town and are sitting vacant. And areas that can be gentrified or cleaned, reused. And, does that mean we're going to make it more attractive for somebody by cleaning it up? I don't know. Does it mean that we have to cut down a freshly wooded area to make a business or a commercial area? That's not in our purview, but I do know that a lot of people have been telling me, this town is a nice, sleepy town. Let's keep it that way. Do we want to get it to get big and commercial? But we still have to keep the pulse of our town alive, and that means an influx of money. So from what I've been hearing, and I have to represent some of the people I've been talking to, that as land gets developed in this town, are we keeping a conscious eye on the fact that we can reuse the areas that were already developed that have got rotted down, or recommission a piece of property rather than lots of land that, the sleepy town part of stuff. Maybe I didn't phrase that well, but...
Good question.
And that's the first thing. And that's the first doubt.
Well, Roger, I would agree with you. Glenn Cannon, Town Administrator, I like to see properties redeveloped. I can tell you right now, I think that, some word I want to use, the word run down, but if they're not visually pleasing, I think they take away from a town. I really do. I think they take away from the economic development opportunities in the town. So I would rather see sites being reused. I can tell you right now, again, I just think that's a benefit for all of us.
Well, I mean, the city of Boston isn't having a huge issue with that right now because of all the empty office buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones. They've got a much bigger problem than we do. But if we think that reconditioning some stuff that's here in Carver versus what is out there, I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
But the reality is going to come down to whoever's going to take the land that doesn't work for them or not, and they want to put in as least amount of money as possible. So,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's a cost to knock down a building. If there's cleanup that has to be done on the site,
and there's things
all
you can
cost.
do. There's tip programs and stuff like that you can do to offset the costs. And so what? So you lose 3 years worth of tax dollars if somebody comes in and does that and reconditions the land, and at the same time though it beautifies the town. And then 3 years later you're getting tax dollars out of it. There's lots of ways around figuring out how you can get somebody to pay for it without really the town losing any money because it's vacant now anyway. I've done a lot of that stuff. I mean, there's ways around
I
it.
would be in favor of. I could tell you now if the board were to pursue something like that, because again, I think I hate to use the word blighted properties, but I think they have a drag on your town.
Yeah.
But may I add to that? I'd like to add to that because when I first came to town, I learned about this town by riding a motorcycle through it. It was picturesque, even though it was sleepy and a little bit, older. It was quiet. It was nice to run through. I know a lot of the clubs that I've talked to, don't want to come around through town. Things are changing for traffic, etc. Is there a way that when we do these we want to open up commercial real estate and stuff, that we can actually get a bigger budget for maybe the DPW? Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're listening
Yeah,
to
go
you.
for it, we're listening.
I'm sorry, a bigger budget maybe the DPW to start fixing out the areas that are being rebuilt. Like you put in a $10,000 piece of granite and run it down an entire highway, and then the weeds grow all around, and nobody maintains it. So I mean, I think we have to become commercially desirable, as well as if we're going to bring more business in, we got to push that sleepy town, or we want to like a budding little town that people want to visit. Nobody wants to see an overgrown mess. Like you install all these, like a couple of years ago, I took a survey for the town. They're going to install all granite walkways and all this kind of stuff. Well, who's going to take care of it afterward? We've got tons of highways out there with, vegetation growing all over the place. Now it looks ugly, in all these areas that's happening in our town and elsewhere. And I just want to make sure that if we're going to invest in our town, we can make it a destination people want to come to.
You want to make more people come here? We figure out this thing across from 44 and we make it happen. You know how many people will show up here? Because it's about numbers. It's like retail properties.
Mm-hmm.
The more retailers you put together, the bigger that it gets, because then people see it and they see it active. That's
Right, but
it's activating space. And as long as that other site sits out there, if we put whatever it is, 1 million square feet of warehouse space or something like that, it activates the space. It gets people to go there. Then other people look at it and go, okay, well, I'm telling you, that's a huge linchpin in my mind. It's the first part of it, and we've already approved the basics of what it is. That's like real estate 101, It's the masses. Residential is a whole different story, but I'm just saying, if you want commercial development, you do smart development, you pick your places where you want, and you develop it. Not let it sit and sit and sit. And then what's that guy going to tell 6 other developers to talk about coming to the town? I've been working on this thing for, when did Hillwood leave?
10 years. Oh,
Okay.
22.
Okay, so in his case, for 3 years now, he's been working on that, and now he's going to court. That's what people see, and that pushes people away, frankly. And that's where we are.
Well, let me just add my 2 cents here. This bullet point that you're talking about really is under North Carver Water District. And my feeling on this is that we have a facility, it's broken right now, but it's a facility that's owned by the town of Carver. And I understand the desire or the option of going to Middleborough for water. But if we're reliant upon Middleborough, then there's always a quota, how much we're going to get from them.
True.
If it's Carver Water, we own it, and we can distribute as much as we are able to. And when people come to want to build commercial here, what they want to hear is, we have water for you, not we will get water for you.
I completely agree with you.
It's 2 different things.
100%.
Yeah, I don't want to go to
agree.
Middleborough.
And, I understand there's got to be a short-term solution, but, I really feel, because this area is going to grow, there's no question about it, and it's maybe not in 3 years or 5 years, but 10, 15, 20, we're going to need water here, and it's got to be town water. And we have a facility, and I think that the people of Carver have to just bite the bullet and spend the money
To fix it.
to fix it and get it up so that it's Carver water, that we own it, we control it, and that we're not dependent upon another community to give us water. Thankfully, they're doing this for us, and if there's a contract, that's great, but God forbid something happens there and we're out. Contracts
Right.
can be broken under extreme circumstances, so, as long as...
I assure you, if the town of Carver takes over, and you said it's owned by the town of Carver.
Yeah, well, right,
It's
yeah.
the North Carver Water District who has
Yes, I
control of
understand.
things, right? But everything's on the table, even to the point where, again, we got kind of, Middleborough still our immediate solution, right?
Yes.
The plant doesn't pump water, we need Middleborough, but
I understand.
what we do with the plant, again, get the engineering study done, and whether or not it's the town of Carver that runs it, we'll consider, I can tell you right now, leasing that plant to the developers. They're the ones
Right.
who need the water, right? They'll, there's an urgency there, plus, I'll tell you right now,
They don't
can
wanna
move
do that.
faster than the private interest.
But they don't want to do that. They want us to do that.
Well, they might want us to do it, but.
They'll
well,
contribute
Yeah,
monetarily.
they'd rather pay
But again-
us.
They'll pay
Yeah.
us.
But again, we as the town of Carver have to go to the next guy who comes in saying, we have water for you. You don't
Yeah.
have to go to someone who's
Right.
leasing them. It's the town of Carver's or the North Carver Water District as a part of the town of Carver that, will supply you water. You need 10,000 gallons every week? We have it. We don't have to call Middleborough and say we need an extra 10,000. It's ours. We turn the pump up a little higher and that water's there. And I think that's important to tell anybody who might be looking at commercial development here, and that goes to the places that are empty right now, what Roger's talking about.
Yeah.
There are empty spots along here. The Forest Street development, that just about uses up most of the zoning, the commercial zoning property in that area. I mean, you've got the Roby property
That's
across
right.
from Shaw's.
That's right, yep.
But, we're kind of at a point now where the only space left to develop commercially are the lots that are currently disturbed but unused.
True.
So,
Now, it's my understanding that Mr. Noria, I can't say that, Mr. Constantine, I think he's the owner. He had two targets. One, he wanted to put up housing, and the other target was medical. It came back to me that he's kind of put the housing on the back burner because of the MBTA situation, and that he's looking more at medical. Now, if you look at is it FEIR? We had an early study that was done about the best things for Carver, and it came up medical. And they also said, if we put a little hotel right there in the corner when you go to 44, you go up there, that parcel of land right there could be a hotel, or just like it is in Plymouth. It's not an extravagant one, whatever. And that, they also said that. So I'm thinking and I'm visioning, my God, we gotta get that going. Let's get it going. The North Carver, that whole area is perfect.
both of those uses take a lot of water.
Right.
Both
There you
medical
go.
and hotel.
There
Take
you
a
go.
lot of
Does that
water.
mean we're all getting older too?
It's-
They thought medical was the best use for
Yeah. Well, it's adjacent to what Plymouth is. Plymouth is just booming with
Yeah.
they're building this new one that's going up now. The doctor, he's building, it's all gonna have surgery and everything. It's gonna be all self-contained. And so we should come along. Not that we wanna have a hospital here, but we could, we could.
If we have water.
I just went to Quest this morning for a blood work because I'm diabetic. And it was like, I said to the lady, is this ever busy? Oh, no, sometime. Are you kidding me? Let's get it busy. That kind of a deal thing. And I must tell you, I think that the area where they put those if you want to start a little business, what that corner is there, where the quickie is, right behind
Oh,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Whatever they call that. I don't know what kind of a name it has. Does it even have a name? I don't know. We got the Green Business Park up here,
Yeah.
but what do you call that little
it's just-
complex
Talking about
over
where
there?
Frosty Dog is?
How much?
Yeah.
Frosty Dog, is that what you're talking about? Where that
Yeah,
Well,
that's
all
just-
those buildings,
That's
Yeah,
Forest
yeah.
Street.
but it doesn't even have a name. It's not even a park or anything, so
No,
you
those are
can.
individual,
Individual. owned,
individual
I think.
owned.
Okay, are
properties.
is that all on the same street?
Oh, the
Yeah, Forest
Craftsman's
Street.
buildings.
And they have a mailing address? They must be crazy. This mailing address, boom, 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 I don't know, kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of missing things in this town that I'm visualizing now. And I'm sure you're brand new, you are an engineer, certified. You must be looking at things as well.
Again, I would like to build as much, I should say, commercial, the right size for Carver. You have to be careful.
Smart development.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you have to be careful. You don't want to overbuild the town. I agree with Roger too. We don't want to be taxing the town so much that we can't keep up with the maintenance of what we're doing. But again, I think develop lots that aren't appealing. I think they bring down a town, and I like to see those redeveloped.
But for the most part, commercial development takes care of itself and it just pays property taxes.
Usually, exactly. It's
It
a
uses
net
very
down.
limited amount of city services to a
Yeah.
commercial development.
Yeah.
There's a little bit that, that you have to do, but
Correct.
What happened to the water? I've only been here for 5 years this January. So what happened to our water plant? How did it fall apart?
it broke.
Yeah, it it kind of was a change in management, and a change in who was responsible for maintenance, and the maintenance was lax, and then things just started breaking down. It wasn't taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the simplest way to put it. It wasn't taken care of.
Let me just
as well
add
as
to
it should have
that.
been.
It's an elected position. It's an enterprise fund with 3 elected positions. For a long time, in the 2021, I believe is 22, it ran pretty good. And then we had a couple of people who wanted to come on the board, and they were elected. And they were a little bit mouthy. And that mouth created dissension.
Okay.
And 2 of the 3 people left.
Okay.
And after that, through the process of election, they had to appoint. The select board had to make an appointment. And it didn't run well because those people thought they knew everything, but they didn't. And the select board was not in charge because it's an individual enterprise fund. And they just kind of went along their way.
Right, but to what Jim said, it's all maintenance, and Roger, maintenance takes a back seat. I mean, it happened to the water district, it's happened to our schools, you know.
That's true.
As
But
time
if you
goes
don't
on,
have the right people on top of it, that becomes an issue.
Did we ever, what was the economic impact? Well, I was gonna say, forget that for a minute. What was the economic impact if Hillwood had opened up? Forget the money that they were gonna give us for other stuff, just the straight tax dollars per year.
It
Oh,
really-
5 million, I think. wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around that, and it really depended upon what was going there, and whether the companies that went in there would have their own fleets of trucks, in which case they would be registered here and bring in excise tax money.
Okay, so ballpark, what's the total town budget?
34 million?
34 million. So you're talking about a 10% increase, over a 10% increase in the town budget, just by putting that in.
Right.
Yeah, so over time, yes.
Plus the fact, let me just add, Hillwood signed a
almost 20.
contract, Hillwood signed a 7.2 million contract with our town for the Carver Fire Department, Police Department, and EMT. And he also found a $2.5 million water tower that he was putting up.
I'm just
It
pointing
just-
out that the long-term effects of what you do with a commercial development like that. We're talking about, a 15% increase in our tax dollars to talk about taking care of schools and all that kind of stuff. And that development will just sit out there and take care of itself. They'll
would-
landscape it, they'll plow it, they'll do all the other stuff that goes along with it. All right,
It would
we've had enough. What's next?
And,
At least I have.
Part of what, along what you were kind of saying, that industry begets industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Workers do their normal day-to-day business where they work, not where they live. They do their banking, they do their dry cleaning, they do their shopping, where they work a lot
They
of
buy
times.
their lunch.
They
Yeah,
buy their
everything.
lunch,
Yeah.
and that
Right,
just brings
exactly,
in more businesses, one thing brings on the next, which brings on the next, and, that's why we've worked so hard to try to get the Green Business Park
Yeah.
up and running, because we know it's just gonna benefit this town in so many ways. All of them around money.
Joanne, I have to step out.
Well, we appreciate-
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
One of these days, I'll just stop by your office and say hello.
Yeah, you should. All right, well,
Thanks,
nice to meet
Glenn.
you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Take care.
After, well, I have to go to the water board though at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so won't be then.
So, with all this that happened, did any of that, where the board, I guess the planning board, and I forget which participants, or I won't mention anybody's name, where somebody was very upset personally about the 65-foot height of a building, and then somehow it's supposed to be a town meeting issue, and then they voted within the planning board, I think it was, to not allow a 65-foot building, and then, but it hadn't gone to town yet. So are we, do we
can
figure
take
out
that
a
one.
solution on that?
Wasn't it grandfathered in?
Do you remember that issue?
Yes, I do. The plans were made, The plans were approved while the bylaw was in effect, and it's good for 7 years. So the
Okay, so-
the 65-foot zoning is good for 7 years.
Even
And how
though,
many years have we burnt? How many years of that have we burnt already?
2.
With,
Yeah.
planning board issues?
2.
So so there's only 5 left to resolve it.
Well,
Five left, and unless someone comes in with another plan. And it's breaking
And then it
ground.
will carry.
It's breaking ground on a project within 7 years. So,
Okay.
you know, someone on you know, a day before the 7 years
Gets
are
back
up,
on.
someone turns a shovel full of dirt and says, we just started, then it's grandfathered.
Okay. Okay. So it's in reality a non-issue. Okay.
At this point, yeah, it's nothing that we need to be concerned about. If we're still talking about this in 5 years, we've got greater problems than 65 feet.
yeah, sure.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Okay, great. Sorry. Let's move on then.
no.
Okay.
What's next?
Next, let's go with 3, Shirtliff Family Inheritance Award. Well, this is interesting. That Shirtliff family owned property in the front of those 14 parcels. There was 2 homes that were there, and they were part of this whole big, when Mr. McLaughlin closed on this particular property, he realized that there's a little property in between, and so they were selling it. So George McLaughlin looked it up and found the deed and everything about the Shirtliff family. And he passed it on to our attorney, and our attorney wrote back to 7 of the people, there were 7 of them. Some of the brothers, 2 brothers had passed, their wives would be inheriting it. The wife and the brother died, and so the 4 children would be inheriting it. Right now, the timing of it has been going on for 2 years. They did nothing. It ends June 30th, 2025. So I have been in contact with one of the people who lived in that area, and our lawyer, Kathleen. And Kathleen said to them, we'll divide it up, and you will send in your letters, which they have, I have it at home, the proper documents, and we will give them their portion. The rest of those dollars will go back to the state. You know when you call in 800 number to see how much millions of dollars you have and so forth with your name? Well, that's how they're gonna eventually, it'll trickle down to that. So by next time we meet, I would have already met with these 2 people and deciding and kind of close it up for them. So I'll report that. As far as the treasurer's report, I have passed it out here, and I'm hoping. Here we go. Here you go for
bet.
you. And here you pass it down, and there's one in there for you too, Sue. So we'd like to go, I'll just go through it real quick and have it approved. This would be the end date for May 31st. Right now, we have in our checking account $353.99. In the RDA savings account, we have $48,443.42. And in our urban renewal plan, which is for the Route 44, is $1,280.65.
We're making a penny a month on that.
That's it.
That's about all we're making, and it's in a, they don't pay much, I guess, today. Probably should go back, but anyway.
You're not gonna get much off of $1,200 anyway, no
Well,
matter where you
no,
invest
at
it.
one point, there was over $22,000 in that account. When Hillwood was here, it ramped itself up.
I'll make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those who vote, go ahead. Dave?
Yes.
You want to say yes? Thank you
Yes.
very much. Okay, Savory?
Aye.
Aye.
And Joanna says aye. Thank you.
Roger?
Oh, I'm sorry, Roger. Didn't mean to leave you out.
Yeah, you forget me, Joanna. I'm telling you.
We have to do FaceTime, so your face can be right there.
I can't, yeah.
That would be great.
She's
So
over-
Roger, you have a vote. Did you say yes?
Yes, he did.
You
Yes.
did. Okay, great.
She's making fun of you. You just can't see it.
That's not fair.
No way. All right, under member notes, annual policy acknowledged form. In your packet, Jill was nice to give us just the just the page that you need to sign off on, knowing you have read it. It's not many pages, but there's what, 4 or 5 of them? There's quite a few of them. And she wants them to be signed and returned to her office. Dave, you have an opportunity to do that?
I already did.
Oh, you did already? Oh,
All
great,
done.
all right. Well, Roger, the Jill's there, I don't know, any morning, they start at 8 o'clock. Could you just,
I've already got it done. I got it done today.
oh,
I sent you an
fantastic.
email saying everything is done.
Okay.
Everything is signed. I've done everything.
Great. And you returned it to her?
I did it right there.
Oh, okay, great, super. That would be Jim and Savory and myself. We have that in our package and we can take care of that, I guess. That's
I
not
did
gonna
it
be an
already
issue.
with Concom. I'm done.
You're all done?
Yeah, that's why he gave it all back to you. I'll
Oh,
take care of it.
You'll take care of it? Okay, fine. Now, the minutes of the meeting. We have 5 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
one
think
more
that's
thing,
one of
the
them.
ethics training. Now, I'm bad,
I'm all done.
I haven't done it. I'm bad, and here's a little, I sent this out again. You should have it.
Roll it.
It's all done.
We need to do that ethics. I don't know if you've done it, Roger. They,
How
Every
could he
two-
do it? He was in Europe. How could he do it?
every 2,
Do it online.
yeah, you can do it online and then get
Do
it
it on
all
your
done.
phone.
Going through the Alps.
And,
Well, yeah, he had 8 hours on the train. He could have knocked it out.
there you go, yeah. Well, anyway, that's our business to take care of it. I'm not gonna repeat it again. We all know what we need to do. All right, let's look at the minutes. And that would only pertain to those people who attended. Some of us have not always attended each and every meeting. Let's start with the November one. Here we go. And November, here we go, November. All right. Those who attended was myself, Roger, and Jim Elliman.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I've had an opportunity to go through it. Roger, I need a, well,
did.
between the three of us, I need a motion
Motion to accept the minutes.
to accept.
Second. I second.
Second, okay. Further discussion? There being none, let's vote. Joanna says yes.
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 Whatever.
Okay, it's approved, all 3 of us. Thank you.
302. Abstain, 2
Three,
abstentions.
2 abstained, I'm sorry, 302. The next one is December.
December 10th.
Did you do, wait a minute. There's January 14th. Did you skip one? Oh, yeah. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's
Yeah, I did that.
2025.
My bad.
Okay, so Joanna attended, Savory attended, and Jim Elliman.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for December 10th as written.
Second.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those in vote will vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And Joanna says aye. That's been approved.
And 2 abstentions, right? Roger and.
Yep.
2 abstentions, Roger and Dave. Thank you very much.
Recurring theme.
Ouch.
All right, now we're going to January. Those attended was Joanna Layton, Savory Moore, Jim Elliman, Roger.
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for January 14th, 2025 as written.
I second.
Second by Roger. Any further discussion? Being none, all those vote.
Aye.
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 Roger, aye. And that would be 1 abstention. Okay, and the next one coming up is March. Attendees were Joanna Layton, Savory Moore, and Roger Knobloch.
No bled.
Noblet. Oh, sorry, Noblet.
Sweet Jesus, woman.
What did he say?
Jesus woman.
Jesus, woman,
Right.
say it
I
right.
think it was exactly sweet Jesus woman is what he said.
Yeah, right, okay.
He could have said something worse.
I need a vote. I need a motion.
Motion to accept.
Roger, you want to make a motion
He
for us?
just did.
did?
I'll second
I
that.
just did.
I'm
He
sorry.
just did. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those will vote.
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
And Joanna
Aye.
says aye. Okay, it's approved, and 2 abstentions would be Jim Elliman and Dave. And the last one, and I'm gonna tell you, I have a question on some of those, and they're mostly corrections based on grammar. And so let me turn the pages here. Page 2, the top paragraph, the second, not the last line, but at the end of that line before it, it says, that will take a special act of legislature, and then the town will come in and take, not of, but over. Do you see that?
I'm looking at the minutes as we speak, but
Just
give me
re-
the subject matter, because pages aren't gonna necessarily align depending on how you print yours
Oh,
out.
okay, so that,
Water update.
it says
That
water
paragraph.
update.
Paragraph that starts with water update.
Water update. Oh, okay, all right.
And you come down and down, and then it
Towards
has,
the bottom.
Okay, spoke with Glenn Cannon and Bob Belbin about how we move ahead and get the North Carver Water District up and running. Am I keep going?
That will take a special act.
Is it further down?
That's in that same paragraph.
But it's up, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
oh,
I
yeah.
see it,
Yeah,
okay.
you go up a couple of sentences.
Yeah, that will
Or
take a special
lines.
act of legislature and
To
then.
take over, not of. To take over the NCWD.
Okay.
okay, the next paragraph now going down, it says the development update, we have a disagreement with town council / Amy Questle. The spelling is Kwesell. And my question is, comma, Esquire, I think you should do that, being a lawyer.
Okay. So only one L?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
No.
No, 1 S, you got 2
One S.
S's in there. It's Kwesell.
Okay.
Questle.
And Esquire, okay.
We're gonna go to page 3, and this is the one I think I spoke to you already about, Sue. The paragraph, you have a lot of bullet points, and then you come down to a paragraph, so from
Town
my
council?
perspective in dealing. What, I would like you to go back and research that, because the last part says, I read what is in the regs and I spoke to the building commissioner. We, including our town council, are all in agreement. Somewhere in there, I remember Tom Bott saying, the building commissioner interprets all of the zoning bylaws. And in fact, I just found out from Jill tonight, he's more or less called the code enforcer.
He said that tonight while I was here.
He did, he did, he repeated what I just said. He did, I'm glad you picked that up. Do you?
Okay, I'm still trying to find where you are.
So-
On the paragraph after the bullet points. She just wants it added in there. It's not a mistake, it's something to add into that
I just want you to
Okay,
go
so
back.
the paragraph that ends, we, including our town council, are all in agreement?
Yes,
Okay.
agreement. So that whole paragraph, I just want you to go back and recapture, because some there in that verbiage is the Tom Bott had said, the building commissioner interprets all of the zoning bylaws. Now, that's very important.
Okay. I will rewatch.
Please, and then if you turn the page,
I'm sure it'll be riveting for you.
Riveting. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Commercial free.
Yeah. There's a reason for that.
we will, let's help her on this one. It goes quite a ways down, quite a ways down, quite a ways down. This paragraph begins with Miss Layton, what is the amendment you are referring to? And in that paragraph,
Well, are we in the same subject matter, or?
Yeah, it's after the long paragraph.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's,
what is the amendment you're referring to? Okay.
Yeah.
okay, and as you come down a bit, it says, keep following Bott, and Mrs. Layton says, you have had communication with, not the DHCD, but with DHCD.
Okay.
Just as correction. You got it?
Sure.
Did you
Okay.
teach English or something like that?
I'm flexible. It works.
I'm a stickler, because if we have to go to court, these documents are going to court. That's why we hire her.
But wouldn't it be the department, what does DHCD stand for?
Department of Health and Human Services, or whatever.
No,
So it's just
DHCD.
DHCD, don't say the DHCD.
Okay.
It's not,
You wouldn't say the department?
no, it's not the
Nah.
department, no. You just
Okay.
take over.
I took that.
All right, so we turn the page.
It's like DEP. You don't say the DEP, you just say, I've gone to DEP.
I do.
I do too.
I do too.
All the time.
I don't.
So you turn the
Well-
page and you come down
I
and
just made that up.
Mrs. Layton, and then you have A, B, C,
Yeah,
current and future plans. Within C, it starts with Mr. Belbin, then there's a paragraph,
yeah,
and then the next paragraph starts with Mr. Cannon,
yeah.
and you come down a few more sentences within the Mr. Cannon paragraph, you're gonna see, there's a sentence says, then we go to the finance committee, no,
Next sentence.
next sentence says, if this board, parenthesis RDA, wants to help, the best thing that could happen would be to let the town not takes over, but take over
Okay.
and get things done. And then there's no more corrections. Very good. Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes as
With
corrected?
With corrected, yes, with correction. I need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain, Savory and Dave.
Right.
Next meeting, Roger, next meeting.
There's a joke in there somewhere about Savory beating on a train somewhere.
Okay. What's the calendar look like for
I was
July?
in Strasbourg, France that day.
Oh, thanks for rubbing it in, man. Okay, that's really nice
Oh
of
my
you.
God. All right, July. Normally we meet, what, the second Tuesday of the month?
That would be the 8th
Would be the 8th,
of July, yes.
Yep.
What
right?
about the 15th?
Roger, the second Tuesday of the month would be 8th?
He's asking about the 15th.
Is anybody going to be on vacation that week and out and away, or no?
Oh, okay, you want to move it to the 15th?
I can't do the 15th.
Okay, we have to stay with the 8th.
Well, that works for me, as long as nobody's going to be
Okay.
away, that's fine, great.
I may not be there, but I can always.
That's fine, you can always look it up.
8th works
You're
for me.
fine, 8th, how about you? The 8th work for you?
Well, I was thinking about being on a train in France, but no, yes, I'm just kidding around. I'll stop. I've done another show. Yes, I can
Want
do
to see
the
pictures?
Yeah, we can have a
I got
slideshow.
1,000.
Why don't we have a
There you go.
slideshow?
The next RDA meeting, the
Yeah, but
first half an
slideshow.
hour Savory show on
Yeah.
slides.
See you.
That'd be great, this is super. All right, you got that, Roger, the 8th?
Yep,
At
all
six-
good.
That would be fun.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait,
I want to just go back, members' notes and comments for.
Oh, I'm
or-
sorry.
Or this can go to our next,
That-
this can go along with our next meeting.
Yes,
We need
please.
to reorganize.
Oh, yes, thank you, thank you.
So let's put that on the agenda for the July.
Yes,
We
yes.
need to reorganize
Reorganize, right.
the board. Okay?
All right, guys, I
That's
want
it.
you to think about running, whatever you want to do, if you would like to step in.
or
and-
walk.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said or walk.
Yeah,
Come
right,
on.
you can handle it. Think about that. The other thing too is I've been the treasurer as well. Pat Maha, after he left, we didn't organize or anything, so I've been doing it all. Not a problem, I'm at the bank, a lot of you guys are not, so you really couldn't sign checks or anything like that. We gotta take care of all that. Nothing like telling everybody, right?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded.
Third.
50.
Close
No
enough.
further discussion on that one.
Nope.
Okay.
Vote.
All those in favor say
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a time for that adjournment? please?
7:51.
7:51.